Ah, my God, it's so hot. It's so it's Thursday the 25th, and it's hot. When I edit it, I'm gonna pop a temperature of how hot it was at this time. I think it's, if I check my phone, it's 4:45 at the minute. I'm about to start a brand new series that I've created after a friend's suggestion, and it is a team through time. Now, if you can hear birds or wind at a greater volume than you previously could, I have my window open because it is currently very, very hot. I've just been outside, and you walk in the sun and just it's so hot. In the shade it's quite nice because you get a little breeze. Anyway, getting distracted. We are doing a team through time today. So the whole idea of this series, honestly, no idea if I'm going to turn it into a series because I'm not entirely sure how well this one is going to run. I am going to pick a team on the current 2020 grid, and I'm going to go back in time to when they first came into the sport, and then run through each year and give a little overview of that year's car. Now, as there are 10 current teams on the grid, and some of them have been on for varying lengths of time, I have chosen as my first one Haas, simply because they have been on the grid for only 4 years. Obviously, I'm only going up to 2019 as we haven't started 2020 yet. Now, a little side note, if I do choose to do any others, such as maybe, for instance, if I pick Racing Point, how am I going to do Racing Point? Am I going to do that into going through Force India? Yes, I will, because that was kind of like a seamless change. Same with Alfa Romeo currently on the grid. I will morph that into Sauber, as Alfa Romeo kind of came in as like a title sponsor thing, because it was Sauber Alfa Romeo, or Alfa Romeo Sauber, one of them. Same with Red Bull. No, not same with Red Bull. Alfa Tauri and Toro Rosso, they're going to be the same one. So say, for instance, I choose Mercedes, I'm not going to go all the way back to Brawn and BAR days. I'm not going to follow the physical chassis and the factory location, simply the team. So without further ado, we will jump on into Haas. They obviously came into the sport in, where are my animations gone? Why aren't they here? Oh no, 2016. Why don't my animations work? It's like they don't want to work on my mouse wheel. There we go. So they've been in the sport since 2016, and we will be following them up to 2019. Not gonna lie, this has been a very hectic start to a video, but I kinda like it. So we're gonna start with the very first year, 2016. Haas's first year. I think the first American Formula One team since perhaps Shadow or like Lola. I don't know if there are any ones around the 2000s. My kind of history before when I started watching in 2010 is a little bit iffy, and from what I've read in articles and done in quizzes, etc. Yes, definitely the first American F1 team for a long time, and the first new team of the hybrid era, I believe, off the top of my head. So we start in 2016 with the VF16. Now, I've always been a bit confused as to why Haas have gone for VF as their chassis number. It's their chassis number. And after a little bit of Googling, I found out it was Gene Haas's first factory had a machine that was his very first machine. As you would always have a very first machine in anything. So it is their very first car, is simply what it stands for. I don't know whether that's just someone's made that up or not, because that's what it sounds like to me. And then obviously 16 is the year. I always thought that the chassis name had to have the car in it. And if I just pull up a picture, there is said 2016 Haas. But actually thinking about it, you've got Mercedes, which is the WO something. That doesn't have Mercedes in the chassis name, as the W for that is Wagen. Anyway, that's Mercedes video. We're doing Haas. So Haas of 2016 actually looked quite cool. So they had Romain Grosjean and Esteban Gutierrez driving for them, and they did kind of okay. They had a best result of 5th, which came in Bahrain, their second Grand Prix, as they had a 6th on their debut in Australia, courtesy of Grosjean, and then a 5th next time out in Bahrain, also courtesy of Romain Grosjean. In the constructors, there's another picture of Bahrain. I've kind of forgotten when all these pictures turn up. But in the constructors, they ended up finishing 8th, though, out of what would that have been, 10, 11 cars at that point, scoring just 29 points, all of which were courtesy of Roman Grosjean. And what I have done is I've also included like a little breakdown of the points scored and where they've exactly finished on each race. Oh, what the hell is that? Fairly sure you can still hear it, but you know, the sacrifices I gotta make to stay cool. I'm not closing my window, I'll boil. But anyway, I've broken down each driver's finishing position, and as you can see, Gutierrez didn't score any points. He had 5 DNFs that year. Grosjean had 3 and also 2 non-starts as well, but he did only score the team's only points in just 5 races. So we move on into 2017, the big aero change regulations, and also where the controversy first began to boil. And the controversy that I'm talking about is, of course, its links with Ferrari. I should have actually found the side-by-side photo of the 2017 Haas, the Haas that looked like a Ferrari, essentially, but I don't actually have that. So we begin 2017 with the very first car of 2017, the VF17. It looked quite cool, actually. I preferred this livery to this car. I mean, these cars in general looked a bit strange, mainly because of the T-wing. If they didn't have the T-wing, I think this era of car is beautiful. I love the big fat tyres. I love the shark fin, how wide it is, the big rear wings, the big front wings, all the aero bits. But the shark fin and the T-wing, yeah, I'm not sure. So in 2017, they had a best result of 6th in Austria. They kind of went backwards from last year, as there is Roman Grosjean in Austria, and you can see him behind the Ferrari. It sort of shows you there that they do look similar. They've got very similar noses, very similar style T-wings as well. And they ended up finishing the year again in 8th, however with almost double the points on 47, and they've employed the services of Kevin Magnussen. They've had Roman Grosjean in 16, they've employed the services of Kevin Magnussen, taking him out of Renault as well, and he's actually scored some sensible points for them. As you can see, they've been in the points a lot more this year. They had a double DNF in Australia to open the round out, but then an 8th in China. There's another bloody car goes past my window. But most notably, they had their very first double points finish in Monaco with an 8th and 10th, followed by a second double points finish in Japan in 9th and 8th. I think there's also another photo, maybe? Yes, there is. Can't remember what track that's from, but I just liked finding different photos with hopefully both of the cars in, as Kevin Magnussen is just in that one. I think that's America, actually. That might just be America. But moving to 2018 now. 2018, the first Halo, the Halo year, or the Halo era, as some people are calling it. We start, of course, with the VF18, the very first car of 2018. They sort of went back to their original livery kind of style, the black and the white. I'm not sure what happened to the grey, because I did kind of like it. But again, it's a very similar looking car to the 2017 one. The nosy bit kind of sticks out a little bit more, and then obviously they've got the halo, but they don't have the shark fin or the T-wing, mainly because of the regulations. Now it is here that they had a best result of 4th in Austria, definitely Haas's best track, in just generally their best track is Austria. They had a best position of 4th, still not a podium as of yet. There they are, both Kevin Magnussen and Roman Grosjean as well at Austria, in front of their main title rivals of that year, Renault. And speaking of the Constructors' Championship, they did end up finishing 5th, 1 place behind Renault, but on 93 points. Again, a good doubling of their points tally from the previous year, and also a couple positions higher as well. And there they both are at Spa, I believe that would be, going into... what's the first corner of Spa? La Source? Might be La Source. But there they are at Spa as well, and they had some decent results. They had a lot more double points finishes this year. They had one in Austria with 4th and 5th, definitely the team's best result so far. Then in Hungary, Belgium, and Brazil and Abu Dhabi. However, both drivers did get disqualified. Grosjean in Italy and Kevin Magnussen, unfortunately, in the home Grand Prix of the United States, and also Grosjean failed to retire, as also they had a double DNF in Australia. I also think it was this year that Romain Grosjean caused that huge tyre smoke spin incident at turn 3 in Spain as well, if you remember, which caused, I think, Gasly, maybe a McLaren as well, to crash out. Whether that was 2018 or 2019, can't remember, but it was definitely one of them. And moving to Haas's fourth and not final, but final of this video, year of 2019. They had an interesting start to 2019, shall we say. They had a new title sponsor in Rich Energy, which, hindsight, was a very poor decision. But of course, we start 2019 with the VF19, the very first 19 car. It looked much the same as their 2018 car, just black and gold. That does have the Rich Energy name on it, but it doesn't have the Rich Energy like antlers things, as they had the whole lawsuit with white bikes, yada 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 yada. And then Stoney just went off the rails. However, they had a huge downturn in performance. They had a best result of 6th in Australia, which, but as single results go, 6th isn't that bad, as they've had they had a 5th in their first year, then a 6th, then a 4th, and then another 6th. So it's not like the end of the world as best results go, but I will show you now, after a picture of Melbourne. There they've got the little antlers on the car, but they finished 9th in the Constructors with the least points that they have ever scored in Formula 1 on 28. They were only in front of Williams that year, and this was the year that Williams were trash. But if we look at the breakdown, another picture pops up. As we look at the breakdown of the points finishes, you can see it kind of starts off well. They had the 6th in Australia, with Grosjean having 2 DNFs in a row to start the year. They had 2 double point scores, Spain and Germany. They had a double DNF in Britain as they crashed into each other. Very lightly, but still crashed into each other. But then after Hungary, they didn't even get to the end of the first half of the season, and they only scored once in the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In the last 10 rounds of the season, they scored once. Now I think there's one final picture which was definitely my favourite of the bunch. Germany, unfortunately I don't know whether my recording OBS is going to do this any justice, but when I grabbed this photo, this was beautiful, definitely wallpaper worthy. However, I'm just not particularly a Haas team fan. And moving on from 2019, Haas's final year in this video, I made a little graph displaying their points by year. Unfortunately, Excel was, don't get me started, Excel was being a pain, and I couldn't get my years on the x-axis, so I've had to go year 1, 2, 3 and 4 with 2016, 17, 18 and 19. It has the right shape, it's not quite right. It doesn't matter, it's okay. But you can see they had a nice slope going upwards, but then it just plummeted this year, or 2019. But we'll have to see what 2020 holds. I'm not entirely sure. And finally, the last thing that will appear in this video, I'm going to do essentially like a team championship, if that makes sense. It's going to make a lot more sense with another team like Mercedes, maybe Williams, or definitely Red Bull and AlphaTauri as well. So picture WTF1, the big reputable new Formula 1 news meme page place. They've been doing what's called a track championship, where they've taken a track's history and each race result. They've then scored points for every driver and worked out who was the champion of that track. I'm now going to work out who was the champion of a particular car, and obviously for Haas, this was Romain Grosjean. However, slightly closer than you think was Kevin Magnussen on 95 points and Gutierrez on 0. Now this whole team championship idea is going to make a bit more sense and be a bit better when it comes to a team like Force India, AlphaTauri, Red Bull, Mercedes, and honestly I'm kind of dreading going on to Ferrari. Oh god, I'm gonna have to break that into like decades. Oh god. But that is all I've got for you today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed that video. It's actually worked really well in my head, I think. So I'm definitely going to make some more of these. And I'm now lost on my outro. I stopped and now I can't remember what I've said. I'm going to disappear now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video with whatever and whenever I decide to make it. I'll see you guys then.